The president doubling down tonight, seeking help from a foreign government. This time it's China, and the subjects are the Bidens. New questions tonight about Joe Biden's involvement in his son Hunter's business ties. Peter Schweizer, author of Secret Empires, How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and Enriches Family and Friends, has researched and written extensively on this, joins us now live. Peter, good to have you with us.
Thanks, Shannon. Great to be here.
Okay, so we have been told repeatedly by a number of folks, Mr. Biden himself and many of his supporters, that this is conspiracy theory. It is not true. There is nothing to it. And to give it any air or oxygen at all is to be doing something that is anti-journalistic. Your response?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing conspiratorial about it, and it's not a theory. It's simply there in black and white. We know that Hunter Biden traveled with his father on Air Force Two in December of 2013. About 10 days after they returned, he signed a deal for $1.5 billion private equity deal with the Chinese government. He was put on the board of directors of this company. His business partner, Devon Archer, was the vice chairman of the company and on the finance committee. Those are simply facts. That's not a conspiracy theory. And the problem is, as with his dealings in the Ukraine, Shannon, he had no background in private equity. He had no background in China. There are additional deals. There was a deal that took place a year later called Rosemont Realty, a company that he co-founded, where Gemini Investments, a company that is attached to the Chinese military, inked a deal with him as well. So these are very troubling transactions, and I think the American people need to have it looked at. And, you know, if we can't investigate Joe Biden now, when can we? These happened under his watch during his official duties as vice president of the United States.
So his campaign says now with his administration in free fall, Donald Trump is flailing and melting down on national television, desperately clutching for conspiracy theories that have been debunked and dismissed by independent, credible news organizations. So what is your response to that? I mean, has there been, a debunking and dismissing, an actual investigation by a credible, independent outlet? And if not, what does that say about your investigations?
No, that's a great point. There has been no investigation. What we know are what I just presented. What the Biden people have told media reporters, and they are echoing without criticism, without challenging, is that Hunter's role with the Chinese firm was advisory, which is simply not true. He was on the board of directors. They've said that, well, he didn't personally own an equity stake, which is also not true. His firm, Rosemont Seneca Partners, was a part owner of this Chinese firm, and he owned equity in that company. And then the third point they make is, well, no, it really wasn't a $1.5 billion deal. It was smaller. The problem is the company itself says it was $1.5 billion. So, look, this has to be looked at. They've not been accurate or honest about this. You know, Joe Biden has famously said he's never discussed business with his son. We know from Chinese executives that he met the vice president through Hunter on that trip in December of 2013.
So if all of this is out there, why are others acting as if it isn't this documentary evidence, or saying that it doesn't link up or add up to anything substantive?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, I think there's always a question whenever you have political figures and there's money flowing to family members for deals that they're not qualified for. It ought to be investigated. It's the oldest story in Washington, D.C. And it just seems to be a lack of curiosity by the media and by people in Congress because the name is Biden. I think everybody would have to agree that if we were talking about Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. flying over on Air Force One and Don Jr. inking a, let's say, $1.5 billion telecom deal, an area that he has no background in, everybody would be apoplectic, including me, by the way. But it's not the Trumps, it's the Bidens. And for some reason, they are too willing to give them a pass. And the media is accepting uncritically what they're being told by the Biden lawyer, which does not correspond with the corporate records and the information that we have. It's all in black and white. This is not anonymous sources. This is not theorizing. It's all documented for people to see, and we've put out those documents.
Well, as you said, regardless of last name, a journalist should be willing to dig. Peter, thank you very much.
Thanks, Shannon.